And good afternoon, everyone. My name is Janae Jackson Doring. I'm the Youth Services Consultant for the State Library of Iowa, and welcome to Summer Reading, Summer School, Yes. We have three panelists today. Really quickly, just some housekeeping items for you. All the attendees, you guys will not have mics or video rights. Only the speakers will have those rights. You can use the chat feature to ask questions and introduce yourselves. Uh, you can also use the closed caption controls to toggle an auto-generated transcript either on or off. And CE will be given when attendees complete a form, and the link will be posted in the chat at the end of the webinar. And with that, we will get started with our three panelists. We have Jeanette McMahon. Jeanette McMahon has been a library director for 27 years, with the last year and a half at the DeWitt Community Library. We also have Mike Miller. Mike Miller has served in education for 17 years. He has been employed by the Central DeWitt Community School District for the last 10 years. And currently he serves as the elementary principal at Ekstrand Elementary School in DeWitt. And we have Eden Johnson. Eden Johnson is the Circulation and Customer Service Manager at the DeWitt Community Library for 2 years. And I am going to turn it over to our panelists.
Thank you. Let's see. It's going. Hello, and we are happy to be here. We are really excited to talk about our collaboration of summer reading and Ekstrand Summer School. If you have any questions, please make sure that you just type them in the chat, and we'll be happy to answer any questions as we get going. This collaboration started out of a brainstorming session that Mike and I had right away after I came to DeWitt. It was one of the first school personnel that I actually had the opportunity to meet. And we really got to talk about how to utilize our brand new building and what we could do together to best utilize our resources and to help the kids in here in DeWitt.
Yeah, and my previous involvement in the summer reading program, the community summer reading program, had simply been the children's librarian contact and saying, hey, can I come to school and give a spiel about our summer reading program? Great, we'd schedule it. And then it kind of evolved like, hey, maybe we should consider taking our kids and having that take place at the library. So it's definitely evolved. And then we had our community librarian change. So then we really capitalized and just kind of being proactive, and Jeanette and I meeting and just brainstorming. This was on the verge of actually having a new facility here as well. That is absolutely wonderful and beautiful. And I had the opportunity to serve on the board and really looking at things from a different lens of a selling point, I guess, if you will, of how we can really use this just beyond what a traditional library is, and how we can build those partnerships of, with the possibility of having our summer school here. And, Jeanette fortunately embraced that idea, and really from there, it kind of took off. And then we had further conversations, which we'll get into, as to what are the logistics that we needed to kind of iron out to be able to develop a strong partnership and fill the gaps for one another to make this a reality.
And to make sure that whatever we did met both facilities' goals and the missions, especially when you factor in the staff time, supplies, and all the workings behind the scenes to make it work. So it was pretty easy for this to meet our goal. We both have the goal to beat the summer slide that we all deal with in the summer. That was our biggest number one priority, was to how can we stop summer slide, and how can we partner to make sure we maximize the amount of kids that we serve, as well as hit those kids that maybe need us the most. And it was basically a no-brainer for us when we talked and got this going. It was an easy buy-in for the library board, as well as I felt the school was.
Absolutely.
I know that I had conversations even with the school board member who was going, so what is this exactly? And it's like, this is a great partnership and what we can do to our kids. I think, okay, we'll see how it goes. And it was just, we had wait lists. So these were our goals initially that we wanted to hit, and from each of us.
And I'll start with like the school district goals, and when it kind of came with a verbiage change. Like we went away from even talking about summer school as like summer reading camp, right? Just the verbiage that you're using as a selling point, and identifying, number one, who qualifies. So we used in our school the students that were identified as persistently at risk as our initial qualifiers, and then we send out letters to those families inviting them to participate in our summer reading program, which obviously was going to take a new look. Traditionally, in years past, we had hosted that within our building. So this was going to look a little bit different than what it had. So there were some logistics in regards to transportation, staffing, and all those types of things that we were working. So it initially started with identifying the kids that, we were going to be able to transport, that we were going to be able to communicate to. And then the other sometimes the great thing is we've got a pool of candidates that can assist, that are looking to supplement their salary in the summer. So there were opportunities for those individuals to be able to assist and help and work and get paid during our summer reading camp that we had that our library was hosting for us. So that was obviously, if in isolation, they're not going to have that amount of people. The other thing that was really nice is you look at that bullet point of location outside the school. As during the summer, that's the time to get the building cleaned, renovations occur. So our custodial staff had great appreciation to not have to work around some of those obstacles that they had faced in years past by simply having it at another location, which quite honestly had some even better spaces than what we do to help facilitate some of the activities and the learning that Jeanette and her library staff had planned for the summer. And that's what's kind of unique is we'd always planned it. Our teachers really love the idea of having that, like they wanted to get paid. They just didn't want to have the same type of responsibilities planning, right? So Jeanette took the role of doing all of that, where our teachers just needed to collaborate with her and kind of get a lowdown as to, hey, what is this going to look like? And that was something that was really well received. I think was a reason why we had to turn down some people. We had more people, which you don't hear that too much anymore, of like, oh, we have too much help, right? So that was a good problem that we needed to have. So or overcome, excuse me. And then community support, we got our transportation involved, a lot of emails back and forth, phone calls, providing clarity as to what this was going to look like. So just enlisting the assistance of, the different supports within each of those organizations had really allowed this to come to life. And Jeanette is super easy going to work with, so she doesn't get too bent out of shape about anything, so nor do I. So it was a good working relationship of any obstacle that we were going to face, we were going to be able to work our way through it. And then finally just knowing, well, what's the cost, like that, those things are great, but when the rubber hits the road, what's the reality of how do you fund this? So we had a couple different avenues that we had used. We are a title school, so we had some title funds that we were able to tap into. We have a DCAT grant that we had applied for, and we got some money through that as well. So that helped with transportation, as well as the supplementing of our salary or the pay for the staff. So obviously, if you don't have the money, a lot of these things aren't able to come to life. And there's some different streams or categorical funds that we can use from a district standpoint to address the very things that the program looks to accomplish. So those goals, I felt like really aligned well. So we started from there, and then we just kind of reverse planned of, all right, how do we make this, a reality? So fortunately, we were just sitting here, we're like, well, I know we only did it for like this many months. What can we extend it?
We've actually are working to extend it this next year.
So we've already brainstormed about 5 minutes before we jumped on here. So we're excited about that.
And from the library standpoint, the benefits for us is we are fortunate. They put our stuff in their virtual backpacks, which go out to their families with information from the community and that sort of thing. So they've always done that for us, but it was even more direct marketing to targeted families. And then Mike invited me to come speak to some different groupings of families, so we had a little bit more face-to-face with the families and students directly. So that was really nice. I was able to even meet with some teachers at some point to kind of talk about what we're what our idea was. So we had that extra marketing with school. It wasn't even just their support. It was like an endorsement for our program. And by the way, last year's summer reading program led the I Read Camp was perfect. We couldn't have asked for a better theme for that year to actually jump off with this program. We can only serve about 30 to 50 kids without the added assistance of the teachers. We were at 100 to 120 a day, or actually a session. There would be morning and then afternoon or different kids. We were able just to serve that many more. And we still had a wait list that we never could clear from the summer. Community support, again, the board was all on board. The community, we always have people sign off because we use photographs for the marketing. So we always have that disclaimer when people sign up for our programs. The community loved what we did. I know that people who don't have kids came up and say, we heard what you're doing. We really like this. We really feel that we're getting a big bang for our buck here at the library. Again, it's a new building. So what we're doing, we need to make sure that people feel that their donations or their efforts are paying off. And I think this program over the summer did a really big hit for us. Sharing resources, a big program takes more than one brain or two brains. We're fortunate to have teachers who look at things differently than librarians typically do. And we were able to really round out. We did do the planning for the program itself, just because it mirrored our reading program. We wanted to help get rid of the stigma that, oh, you have to go to summer school or you don't read so well. It didn't matter. They're doing the same things, all the same kids. So we felt that was a community goal, as we've erased those barriers, erase those stigmas for our kids. Behind the scenes, Eden is our guru on the registration, keeping kids checking in and out, because if they are registered for our programs, it is imperative that we know who's coming, who isn't coming. Our parents feel that trust with us, and we feel that's very important. So we have an elaborate check-in, check-out system, and I'm going to let Eden talk about that. She also took the marketing from the I Read Camp, made it work for our combined library school program. So I'm going to have Eden talk about that.
Yeah. So I'll start with the marketing aspect of it. With the theme being camp, we really did take all of that imagery and ran with it and created our own I Read Camp every day. We had camp counselor shirts and everything with it. We really had a blast with that marketing. And with that, I created a brochure that showed what Summer Slide is, because I don't think a lot of parents knew that kind of buzzword. So it was good to get that information in their hands for what that is and what the reading program can do for their kids over the summer. And then for the check-in and registration, we kind of had two avenues for this. The school supplied us with a list of kids that confirmed that they wanted to do summer school. So I got their spreadsheet, and then we had our own separate summer reading program registration that kids who weren't in the school's qualifications were able to still come and join us during summer. So then it was just importing those two spreadsheets together and separating them out through sessions for our 2 days, so our 4 sessions total, and then just a standard clipboard and a pen, and really getting to know the kids that were coming into program and checking them in. And when their parents came to pick them up, you also recognize the parents then too, and then you say, see you later, see you next week, and check them out. There's a pretty good process. It also helped if they actually checked out books too. So yeah, that was majority of my role.
And I do think that what Eden did with the check-in, check-out, they saw library staff or they saw a teacher, they immediately connected everyone with the program, and it just made a really good feel good time, which is what we wanted. We want the community to feel good about what we do. We want them to feel comfortable, one, leaving their kids, and two, if they have a question, they see us, they know who to ask for. It just is, I don't know, community feel goods. That helps out with those things. Some of the, on the library end, we of course paid for library staff. We purchased the general prizes and supplies. The Friends of the Library are huge supporters of the summer reading program, and they will continue for this next year. That is their thing, and so they really do support that. We also had surveys that we issued. We had them in paper as well as digital. We got some good feedback back, and we kept we used the PLA surveying what they support. Excuse me, I'm missing the name.
Project
right now.
Outcome.
Pardon me. Yes,
Right.
yes, absolutely. Project Outcome. That is a wonderful resource. If you haven't used it, it actually brought all the statistics in that we needed, that the school needed. So we honestly, I thought the statistics were pretty easy. We didn't have to generate things on our own. Once I set up Project Outcome survey and it went out, we came back. And then we were able to easily share with each other, as well as I shared with the library board, and I'm assuming Mike shared with his grantees.
Yeah, exactly. That's some accountability components of just knowing what attendance is, and then, what the improvement rate is, which, part of it is, what are your outcomes? Sometimes it's just maintaining the interest in literacy, right? And the exposure. It's, it's not going to be, we're not developing a program here that's like systematic and sequential. That's not the outcome. They've done that for 9 months, right? Like we want to maintain, we want to take those skills, and then we really want to have them utilize that, what they've learned throughout the course of the school year, and then really an authentic learning experiences, which, the programming allowed for this past summer, and, which we're really looking at continuing to capitalize on those opportunities in the summer. It's engaging. And
we get to have fun.
Yes, exactly.
We get to totally have fun, and we get to hide the literacy learning. We did have 3 components in our summer reading program, which we were going to do before the school was our partner, which was writing, literacy, and a fun activity that included some science or some STEM activity that was just engaging and really fun to do. So we kept, again, with the camp theme, we kept camp journals. We wrote postcards home. We actually got the little wooden postcards, which were really cool. And the kids I learned did not know
their address. That was one thing we found. Wow.
We did not know their addresses.
Yes.
So that was a really stressful day. Thankfully, Mike was here so he could look up all these kids' addresses. And they did not know how to write on a postcard.
Yep.
So it was that activity took longer than we anticipated, but it was a lot of fun. And these kids then got their postcards in the mail. And we had some parents come back going, that was fun. It was pretty, we got these in the mail, and it was worth the postage to do that. You want to talk about some great responses. That activity was really fun. So again, the statistics I did not feel were hard to keep, but are extremely necessary to justify the program, to justify the grant needs, as well as to say, hey, this was so really successful, I want to do it again. I also then sent out the survey, a teacher survey, to say, hey, can we do this better? Did you want more input? Just to kind of get feedback on library staff and teachers and what they thought and how we could do it better. Because Mike and I thought it went really well, but what can we tweak? There's always ways to make it better, to really utilize the resources of the staff. And we don't want any of them to feel like they didn't get enough input as we go forward. So this is just a little bit on how the sessions worked. We did pre-K through first grade in the morning, and then second and third in the afternoon. And then the older kids were broke up the next day so that we could actually accommodate simply that amount of kids in the library. People really got to know when not to visit us. If they wanted a quiet library, immediately they started to, spread out other kinds of usage of the library. But the buses, our first time we had them stop at the front of our library, which is the front for everyone. It was way too congested, so we did move it to our quote exit, our other not exit, and it really was easier to bring the kids through. It was a lot safer. We checked them in. Our sessions did last an hour and a half, but at the last 20 minutes, 15 minutes, it was quote free time. And that's when kids had the opportunity to interact with the collection, interact with the library, not necessarily being in a structured environment. And that's really important. Parents, when they come to pick up the kids, if they're picking them up, want to pick them up and go. They don't necessarily go to the collection and pick out books with those kids. So we learned really early on, even 20 minutes, 25 minutes is well worth a teacher's time, the library staff, we interact with those kids. We actually help them really find stuff that engages them in order to continue to read over the summer. And that was fun. So that was a necessary part of what we did. The teachers, when they came on, particularly teachers with the younger set, because they had to help a little bit more with the activity and really know what was going on. They connected with our children's librarian either a half an hour before or 15 minutes before. I can't remember what we ended up deciding, but they did meet before the program started to get the lowdown on the structure of the program, and then came early before the kids came to say, okay, what exactly are we doing today? We know the structure, we know our space, help us get started. So the older kids, I worked personally with the older kids. The teachers just came in and were able to just blend right in. It was just wonderful working relationship. I thought we did a great with the teachers. This year they need t-shirts. We're getting them t-shirts.
They would.
We didn't, because when we ordered them, we didn't count on this.
Yeah.
So we didn't quite have their t-shirt. They were jealous of our t-shirts. So that's kind of how it worked.
I don't know if I would add anything, Jeanette. I think you kind of nailed all the bullet points there.
The transportation director was wonderful to work with.
Mhm.
I know it got a little frustrating at first because they had buses and they had a van and working out. So the kids, at one time we had a bus and a van for the same session, and we had to make sure the kids got on the bus or the van correctly. And so we worked out those little things by the second or third week of the program. So we didn't have kids going to the wrong spot. And that's where the registration is really important. And in the end, are we going to repeat it? Absolutely. And I don't really feel from my end that we have to change a lot, except I really want to expand it. To me, summer does not end at the 4th of July holiday. I know a lot of programs, you have your Bible schools, everything's shoved into June. And June is when they probably don't want to come the most because they're just getting out of school. We do start our program, but we wait till the middle of June. And my goal is we'll carry through our part of the summer program to the beginning of August, through that first week or two of August. And we know with vacations, the attendance will go down a little bit, and that's okay. But we still have the opportunity to hit the kids that want to be here, who hit kids that may need to be here. And whether the school comes in part of the time, I know depends on funding, or all of the time, that'd be something we're still discussing as we work out funding. But that's one of the things I would like to see. We're changing groupings a little bit so that transportation is not 2 days, but 1 day for the school, so that what doesn't matter with the grant, we'll try to keep our costs down, because this is really important to us. We're also going to have make and takes for kids to take with them. So they're not only learning with us for that hour and a half session once a week, but they have take home activity so that they can then do something at home that motivates them maybe to interact with what they've taken home, or a skill that we've worked on. They can work on it with their parent, grandparent, babysitter, whoever they're with other times, other times as well. And then some kids are just not able to come all the time. But that was something that we probably needed to talk about. Our summer sessions, you needed to register whether and which ones you were coming to. When you have 120 kids, potentially a session, we really need to know if you're not coming. It isn't just, we do not have a just drop in summer program unless it's called pop in. The rest of them are registered program because we just can't take any more than that. And we knew we would have gotten even more that we couldn't serve. We just don't have the simple space for that. So that was really important. So we know we have kids that couldn't come. So we want the make and takes to maybe make up some of that deficit when we are full for our in-person programs. We're very fortunate with the support of our community that honestly our programs are all full. Our after school programs full. So I'm expecting the summer we're going to have a longer wait list, which is why we are really trying hard to come up with a way to serve more kids. But we don't want the quantity to have a to really cause our quality to go down. We want the highest quality program that we've been providing and continue. And so the make and takes are my way of potentially serving kids that we can't serve in person because of the numbers.
Yeah, and Jeanette kind of hit on one of the biggest obstacles I think that we weren't able to predict is probably the number of interruptions or, just conflicts that came up in a kid's schedule and then predicting like on what days are going to come. It's kind of a double-edged sword of knowing that, hey, like we have ample opportunities for kids in the summer to be involved heavily, whether that be robotics camp, whether that be track and field camp, whether that's basketball camp, whether it's vacation Bible school, like there's a lot going on. So just knowing like, how do we work around that? Because that's the tough thing is we want to get started with our planning like yesterday, right? And we're going to be able to do that with our screenings that we're doing for the requirements to the Department of Ed. We'll get that data and then we will identify here in the first week of February exactly who's going to be able to qualify. However, it's just knowing, families sometimes don't know what those conflicts are until some of the other dates and times for those camps become available. So that's the one thing of just like reflecting, then getting some feedback that became a little bit of a challenge, but not big enough to not move forward, in doing the program again.
Absolutely. And I think because we as a library tend to do the programming for that age group, which is pre-K through third grade or fourth grade, is almost always on Wednesday. That's our day. And we are very conscious of when the school kind of does their things. We don't want to compete. We're not a huge community. So competition is not where we want to be. It won't maximize our resources. So Wednesdays kind of become library day in this community. So that's good for us if people identify Wednesday that way. But we also want people to say, hey, I'm not coming this day and this day because we're on vacation. Great. So that student's not there. So we can let in a student that they may not be able to come to 1 and 2, but they can come to 3 and 4. And our Wednesdays or sessions are not necessarily connected. If you don't come to some, that's okay. Each day is a new theme under the umbrella of the larger theme. So it worked out really well. And I think it worked out for parents. They don't feel like they have to come. It's a choice. It's unfortunate for those who couldn't, in my opinion, get to come. We had a great time with the kids. We had a great time with the theme, and we're excited about this one coming up as well. So here I can leave it open for some questions. I did put our contact information. If you'd like to contact me at the library or Mike at the school. I don't know why you're not green. Or Eden, she, as I said, did all of the back work on registration and some of those little things that made all the difference on the starting and ending of the program.
Wonderful, thank you. We do have some questions from our attendees. Looks like S. Rundle, they said, can you share what the program curriculum with them, the files?
Whatever you guys, I don't know.
Well, we have
or actually she said, can you share what program or the curriculum looked like for each session? Excuse me.
I can give you the calendar and some of the activities that we did. The library doesn't necessarily use the word curriculum, so it was actually, you know, our we did the activity, and I can sure share those. Those would have come from myself, so I can share that with you. If they want to just send their request to my email.
We ate bugs one day.
We
I do
did.
remember that.
Yes.
So that was a hit.
That was a hit. We ate bugs and worms and
Yes.
crickets.
That was something else. Wow. First cricket I ever had.
Also, Lola asked, what items are you going to be including in your make and take bags?
It will totally depend on the theme. So the make and take for that week will be whatever fits in that theme, and we're in the process of creating those. The week that we are doing music, you know, the theme is hear your voice, or
Find your voice.
Find your voice, excuse me. We were thinking of ways that we communicate. So one week is going to be music. So whatever's in that make and take bag will reference some of our materials, and there will be a music activity that we haven't yet designed yet. We're in that process of getting everything figured out and designed, and what we're going to do with that. I know we're going to be making vinyl records. You're going to be able to, we have old vinyl records that you're going to make your own, and we're doing karaoke so that you have your own opportunity to be, you know, a record star. So it could be as simple as that, or, you know, they're just all kinds of make and takes. We do make and takes for adults continually, and we do them for our outreach currently. And it truly is based on what our theme is.
Thank you. And Linda McCormick wanted to know how many days or weeks, or how many weeks is the program?
Last year was 6 weeks.
Yeah. Last year was 6 weeks, and we want to expand it to closer to 8 or to 10 weeks, because we want to start at the same time at the middle of June, and then take it to the first week of August or somewhere in there. And so that's what we're hoping to expand, because to me, summer goes to the beginning of August. I realize they want to break right before school starts, but if we end all of our programs the first week of July because, oh, I want to go on vacation, or everyone leaves. Well, not everyone leaves. We learned that last year too. And I just think that you can lose a lot in that month and a half before school starts. And we want to just provide our program that long. And that's our goal.
1 day per session or grade level, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
1 day week per, or 1 day per week then for those 6 weeks.
And so this year we want to expand it. And I think from our end, it's set to go, and it'll be up to the school's funding, whether or not we have the teachers the full time. The teachers are imperative the first 6 weeks, because we know that's our bulk. And then because of vacations and other camps, you know, it'll ebb and flow toward the end, and people won't be used to that. But hopefully we can then gain that support and have that offered from here. So we'll just kind of see how that falls together. But that's our goal.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. And Glenda also asked, was transportation provided from the child's door to the library, or was it from the school?
And it's qualified.
Yes.
It's qualified transportation.
Yeah. So the students, because then we can justify pulling that from title, because those are the kids that are receiving additional services. So the qualifying student, we did have some instances of coming up, like, that's where you got to get creative, right? Like, this is like
my brother gets to ride, but I don't get to ride.
So we'd had some things that come up where, okay, yeah, we're paying for it. But then that's another obstacle I would say, is that we kind of like, how do we, you know, in the event that you have 5 kids that are within walking distance of the kid that qualifies, do we open that up? But then how do you justify not picking up somebody that is 2 miles down the road? So, you know, working through some of those logistics are things that last year we just cut it and just said, you have to be a qualifying member to ride the bus. But we also had twins where one kid would qualify and then the other wouldn't, right? So they both want them in the program. So, you know, in those things, you got to use good judgment. And you know, so we had some conversation with the bus, and it is door to door for those particular students that qualify. Otherwise, you know, if we did it everybody, it would have to be periodic stops. So.
Oh, absolutely. And our kids, Central DeWitt takes in quite a few outside of DeWitt communities.
Yeah, that's the demographics of we have 4 communities, I think 4. We have DeWitt, but we have Grand Mound, we have Lowmore, and we have Welton. Am I missing anybody? Yeah. So we have other surrounding communities too that we're looking at, which we're also looking at getting a reading, what do you call that? Like buying a camper and
our mobile, yes,
Mobile.
that is our big
So
goal
that's our
for
dream.
us. That's our dream.
because with that then looking at how are we serving outside of our DeWitt community too, right? Like, so we've got a lot of ideas of just knowing how are we outreaching to those outlying communities that are a part of our school district and serving those students and families as well.
Well, and the library, Clinton County has a library association that takes in the 6 libraries. We have already started outreach to Lowmore and Grand Mound because they actually have kids. And, some of our little tiny communities barely have children. It kind of depends on the age of those communities. But over winter break, DeWitt, we went out and had programming for pre-K, pre-K through 6th grade in Grand Mound. And we had a great time. It was 2 hours of I don't know, we made dioramas. These are my words today. Dioramas. Then we did story time with penguins. And then we had books for the whole community to check out. So it was adult through kids. Now, Lowmore doesn't really have actually small children, so we did not do story time, but we had a really nice crowd from out in the county that came in because Lowmore is just closer and quote, cut and paste that program for those kids in Lowmore. So they are also very interested. So we have already started to build the building blocks to take summer out to those outlying communities. So maybe that will relieve a little bit of the busing, that may relieve some of the congestion at the library. And what'll be nice is that we have those programs, but some of the other Clinton County libraries are going to join us in providing that outreach. Because I think as Clinton County Library Association president, we all do wonderful things. It shouldn't just be one of us that they should get to experience and potentially bond differently with the librarian in Clinton or Wheatland or something like that. So they'll get the same overarching program, but get to see how other libraries do it. And maybe will spark interest to go, hey, go visit this library. You can do that. So we are already building those building blocks so that we're prepared for some nice big things when our dreams start coming true. Mobile, trailer libraries and a good collaboration with the school for STEM stuff and things like that. So yeah, we have lots of dreams.
Love it. Lots of dreams.
But it's
lots
the
of
support. This program is getting so much support. The collaboration has the support. We think, and I feel very strongly that we'll have the support for our dreams in another year or two, because they'll see that we've already been a success, and success builds on success, and we'll get what we need. We'll get funders to help us with providing some of those things for our outlying communities, as well as here in town when we have festivals. It's much easier to pull a trailer with a whole bunch of wonderful, cool stuff than hauling it out from our car and who you have what, do I have what? We want all that contained. So it takes out the staff, a lot of staff work if it's already pre-done. So that's what we're working for currently.
Wow, that's awesome. S. Rundle also asked, what is the best way to approach principals to see if we can partner? Great question.
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know your principles.
I don't know. You might reach out to me when I was new.
I think it's alignment, right, of the vision. Like, where do you find that common ground and shared vision? And hopefully the library and the school has that shared vision of enhancing literacy skills, engaging kids, and authentic experiences. So I think you start there, find that common ground, that common vision, and then kind of plan backwards. How do we make this a reality, right? Like, we can spend time on, being inspired by our ideas, or we can spend time on the obstacles that aren't ever going to allow us to have those fruitful conversations about how we can best serve our students. And, we just refused to look at the obstacles, I think, and the barriers, and just said, what has it looked like? What could it be? What do we need to do to be able to work together to make this a reality? So I think just going in and just saying, sharing it. And if there's any way that we can help,
Absolutely.
I would be more than happy, to Zoom with teams of people, because it's right for kids. And I think that's why everybody's in the role that they're in, right? And reading's important to us. It's important to be a active participant in our society today and be informed, number one, right? Like, that's a big problem.
Yes.
We've got to be able to have that ability to find the facts, because sometimes people don't always tell the truth, believe it or not. So, and have people eager to seek that stuff out. That's the goal of the program. And I feel like we've developed a really great partnership in being able to do that.
And I'm very fortunate. Mike likes to think out of the box. I like to think out of the box. And I know not everyone has the we can find a partner maybe that really aligns exactly with the way that you think. I feel very fortunate that Mike feels this way. But he also has the support of the school board. Even though they're kind of going, what is that? What are you exactly doing? Are you sure? I mean, that was the question from the school board member that talked to me. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is awesome. Wait till you see the success. I know a success. Mike knew it was going to be a success. We did not ever look negative on it. It was absolutely not going to succeed. And every challenge, we just met it. And that's how it wasn't an obstacle. It's a challenge. And with Eden's help and our staff, we were able to do exactly what we wanted to do, and it exceeded what we expected it to happen. And the surveys came back from parents so strong. There was no negatives. I think the one negative that was funny was it had to do with timing. And I can't remember, there was a funny parent one, and there was nothing any of us could do about it. And I don't remember it exactly, but the rest of them, there was nothing negative. And even the stats of, did your kid read more over the summer? Did they check out more books? Did they visit the library more? And then, more of the academic questions. Do you feel it made a difference?
Mhm.
And they were yeses. And that was excellent. That's exactly what we were hoping to accomplish.
Excellent. Laura Coons asked, do you have individual sessions where the child can read one-on-one?
Not during that particular time. So if they want to do that, that would be like, we have our therapy dogs where they could read one-on-one. We cannot do that in that large of a group. But I suppose that would be something that we could maybe work on if someone asked us about things like that, where they would meet with a teacher, or small group sessions. I'm not sure. I was not all the time involved in the kindergarten through second grade. So I know did some small group reading. They were actually divided into many small groups because they just needed a little more assistance as littler kids doing a project. And I know they read in not a large group, but in groups of 8. So they were able to get a little more personalized attention, where in the 3rd grade or 4th grade and up, we did more group activities, and our groups were in groups of 10, just because they can do science experiments. They have a little bit more experience in teamwork, which is something we really worked on with the older kids is, especially coming off after COVID and the separation during learning, just being so separate. We worked really hard on remembering social skills and teamwork and remembering what it's like to work in a group. So we worked really hard to incorporate that into those older groups, where the younger kids, she divided them, I know, into groups of 8, I believe, 6 or 8.
It might be smaller than that, I think.
They might, some of the groups were smaller. Some of them, we got to know the kids and we grouped them. Because we're fortunate enough to have teachers and paras that worked with some of these kids. We were able to, quietly move them without any stigma, without any, no one ever thought anything about it, with maybe the right teacher, or in the group that okay, if we have a behavioral issue, we put them with some calm kids. We don't put 4 behavioral kids to that one poor teacher or librarian when they're trying to do group work. We can easily do that. We did that just shuffling kids on numbers to making sure when kids showed up or didn't show up. So they never thought that they were being stigmatized because, well, they're known to be, one of those kids. It just didn't happen. So that's how we managed to do that. But we could not do one-on-one in large group.
Really quickly, we just have 5 minutes left. Lisa Riesenberg wrote, did you require or encourage reading at home for any certain amount of time or minutes per day?
We focused on 20 minutes because the research is showing 20 minutes a day makes a huge amount of difference. So we had part of our marketing was about reading 20 minutes a day, and to put your name in for prizes, it had to be 20 minutes a day. So we really focused on that number.
What kind of prizes did you offer for the kids that finished?
We had, it was a wide range, everything from the binoculars to books to it was all about camping. So we focused a lot on camping gear.
Emergency warming blanket.
Yes.
Oh my God.
We had an emergency warming blanket.
Yeah.
So if you went hiking, you were going to be safe.
Yep. And I guess I didn't share that from I'm not only looking at this program from a principal, but also a father. My third grader daughter was a participant and actually qualified, was an at-risk student and had qualified for the program. Success story, 2 things. And I don't know if you can directly correlate or contribute, but she is currently meeting benchmark on her CBMR, her fluency of what she's reading words per minute. But more importantly, she's really eager to learn. Like, she's seeing the number one, the importance and the why behind why literacy skills are important. And she want to, and the seeking out information. And it's not like pulling teeth to get her to do it. It's more, she's doing it on her own. And I think as a parent, that's what you really want, at the end of the day. And that was really one of the primary outcomes that we really wanted to have too, is not making reading feel like a chore, but, something that you want to find information that is important to you and relevant to you.
And what's really satisfying, of course, from the librarian side is when we have kids that when they start either our summer program or our after school program, when they come in not wanting to read, but his daughter now, we pick books together, we talk about books, we have mini book club, that is the satisfying part. When she first came, it was like, oh, I don't want to read. It's like, okay, you don't have to.
Well,
I'm not your mom. I'm not your teacher. You don't have to read.
And
now we
read. It's a sustainability, right? It's the partnership and partnership.
It's the bonding.
Yes, it's not about like in schools, and we're guilty of this too. We want a quick fix. Guess what? Like, literacy skills aren't a quick fix. Like, I know that every system that we have is really derived around that in a school in our state, but ultimately, that's why her love. It's the relationship. Everything's relational. Like, we've built bonds by people outside of our school that have taken an interest, right? Sometimes it's just that one person that's going to click for that individual. And Jeanette and as the rest of the library staff, they serve as those individuals for the students, such as my daughter, and they look up to her, they build those relationships, and it becomes important because as a dad, you can tell them it's important, but they're going to do exactly opposite of what you tell them oftentimes. Right?
And that's the beauty of us not being part of the school, the daily, they don't have to come to the library. Well, okay, sometimes their parents make them, but they don't have to be here. They can do other things. And it just makes it feel less school-like, which is, I know, something we wanted to make sure we met that. And as librarians, we now are bonded with our community. And we all know that not only means that we have a great relationship with the kids that we see in our programs, but the community knows it too. And we also know that if the community is happy, that means we are well supported. Our budgets reflect that. When some challenges happen, we have support as a whole, whether it be the school, the library. We have less to worry about because we have built that strong structure of support through our programs, our quality programs, that it makes our dreams doable. It makes them come true because people trust that what we say is exactly what we're going to do. And we can show how the results are impacting our community.
It just really quick point too. Jeanette and I were just talking. We had a school board meeting last night. Some of the we were reviewing policy, right, of library
Mhm.
materials, which is a hot topic.
Yep.
And we've taken the insight of how and kind of reflected within our policies some of the same approaches that our community library. So like relying and getting some insight as, hey, what does this look like on your end, rather than
Yes.
with pushing through policy. It's like, well, nobody really knows, and we don't have anybody to bounce this off of. Jeanette's been very instrumental in helping guide that, and through our city administrator and all that. So it's been really nice to be, because it's important to have those resources, especially in today's world with the challenges and those types of things that we're facing.
And again, it's just been a great partnership. To me, it's a natural partnership. And I encourage everyone to reach out to build the type of relationship that we've been able to build in the past year and a half, to serve our communities.
Well, you've got all the librarians here cheering you on. They're all saying thank you, and they said yes, librarians are awesome. This has been outstanding. Thank you guys